Hey, welcome. Today, we are getting into something that every single one of us deals with: self-esteem. And look, this is about so much more than just feeling good. It's really about learning how to handle that complicated world inside our own heads so we can build a strength that's real and actually lasts. We're going to pull back the curtain on where that nagging, critical voice comes from, and, most importantly, how to start changing the conversation. And this quote from a very recent study really kicks things off perfectly. What it's telling us is that those conversations we have with ourselves, they are not just random background noise. They can literally shape our risk for things like depression and anxiety. So yeah, the stakes here are incredibly high when it comes to our mental health. Okay, so let's just dive right in by getting to know the problem, right? We've all got that voice, that persistent negative chatter in our heads that seems to have the absolute worst timing. That's your inner critic. And it usually learns its lines really early in life, picking them up from everywhere: childhood, school, what we see in the world around us. So before we go any further, just take a quick second and think about it. What does that voice actually sound like for you? Is it the one that says you're not smart enough? Or maybe that you should have tried harder? Just pinpointing its particular tone is a huge first step. And you know what? If you recognize that voice, you are definitely not alone. This is pretty much a universal part of being human. You know, researchers have found there's this really clear psychological loop that keeps us stuck. It all starts with a trigger. You make a small mistake at work, you say something awkward to a friend, whatever it is. Then, bam, step 2 hits, the self-criticism. That's when the harsh, blaming voice just completely takes over. And finally, that leads to the response, this wave of shame or frustration, which only gives the critic more fuel, and the whole cycle starts right back up again. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. That critic, it isn't just one single voice. Some really great research shows it can actually show up as at least 6 different personalities, each one with its own unique brand of negativity. So let's get to know the cast of characters. First up, you've got the teamster. This is that inner perfectionist, right? The drill sergeant who is never, ever satisfied. You could get a 99 on a test, and the teamster is the voice going, "So what happened to that last point?" It's constantly pushing you towards some goal that's just impossible to reach. And then you've got the non-feeler. Have you ever felt bad about feeling bad? That is this voice. It criticizes you for even having emotions. It's the one telling you to just bottle it up, be stoic, which is basically shaming you for being a human with actual feelings. Ah, the worrier. This is the part of us that just loves to pour gasoline on the fire of anxiety. It's always scanning the horizon for the next disaster, fixating on everything that could possibly go wrong, and trying to convince you that you have no control. Its whole job is to keep you scared and on high alert. Now, some critics, they don't even need to look at other people to find fault. The not good enough for self voice compares you to your own ridiculously high internal standards. And of course, in its view, you never quite measure up, which just fuels this constant, quiet feeling of being inadequate. And this one is its close cousin, but with a really important social twist. The not good enough for others critic is all about social comparison. It's that little whisper that says, everyone else has it more figured out, or they're more successful. It just locks you into this painful cycle of feeling inferior. And finally, we have the absolute harshest critic in the bunch, the hated self. This type of self-criticism, it's not just about inadequacy. It goes way deeper into self-disgust. We're talking self-attacking, blaming, and sometimes even a real desire to punish yourself. It is by far the most destructive voice in the lineup. Okay, so now that we kind of understand the inner critic, we can start figuring out how to move forward. But first, there's a really crucial distinction we have to make. It is so easy to confuse healthy self-worth with its toxic counterfeit, narcissism. And getting clear on this difference is the key to building the right kind of inner strength. When you really break it down, the contrast is just stark. Real self-esteem, it's built on a foundation of accepting yourself, flaws and all, and having emotional stability. It's linked to things like warmth and agreeableness. Narcissism, on the other hand, is built on feeling superior, entitled, and often putting others down. Socially, it's tied to callousness, and it leads to all kinds of unhealthy pathological outcomes. And the data just makes this crystal clear. A major analysis found that narcissism has a strong positive link with antagonism. I mean, the more narcissistic someone is, the more antagonistic they tend to be. But healthy self-esteem? It's actually moderately negatively correlated. They aren't just different, they're practically opposites. So here's the big turning point. The goal isn't just about trying to build more self-esteem or puffing up our ego. The real change, the real breakthrough, comes from growing a totally different quality, one that's way more powerful and resilient: self-compassion. And self-compassion isn't some passive feeling like self-pity. No, it's an active practice. It is about deliberately choosing to be kind and understanding with yourself, especially when you mess up or feel like you're not enough. It's really about treating yourself with the same care and support you'd give to a good friend who is struggling. And you don't have to take my word for it. A whole chorus of experts is saying the same thing. Rick Hansen calls it the foundation for resilience. Brené Brown says it's about ditching perfectionism. Tara Brach talks about radical acceptance to swap that criticism for kindness. They are all pointing us toward the exact same powerful idea. But okay, how do we actually do this? How do we take self-compassion from a nice idea and turn it into a real, tangible skill? Well, it starts when we put it into practice. And one of the most powerful, direct ways to do that is by learning to set healthy boundaries. Think about it. Boundaries are self-compassion in action. Saying no can feel so hard, right? Especially if you're a chronic people pleaser. But here's a simple 3-step way to do it without all the guilt. First, before you say yes, just check in with yourself. Do I really want to do this? Do I have the energy? Second, be honest and direct when you decline. No need for a big, elaborate excuse. And third, reaffirm the connection. Offer an alternative, which shows the person you still value them and your relationship. Let's just look at what this really looks like. The before is that classic people-pleasing response. We've all been there. You can almost feel the resentment building in that sentence. But then look at the after. It is honest, it's kind, but it's firm, and it keeps the door open for another time. See, this isn't about pushing people away. It's about prioritizing your own needs, and that is a fundamental act of self-compassion. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Just think about the week you have coming up. What is one no, maybe even a small one, that you can say to something or someone else so that you can say a much bigger yes to yourself? Because that's where genuine, lasting self-worth really begins.